As Conrad Morgan is working on a new car during his offseason, he took time to share his memories of racing against Alan. One he won't forget is getting rear-ended by Alan after a race was over.
It's been a long time since I raced with Alan, but I do have some very strong memories of him and his career and where he went. It was simply amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So first of all, if you can remember, what kind of racer was Alan?
I don't think that I ever had a problem with Alan on a racetrack. We had two incidents that happened, but I believe to this day that they were just accidents. One of them was down at Lake Geneva, and I don't know if you ever saw any old videos of Lake Geneva, but it was a perfectly flat racetrack. It was actually debanked through three and four.
Hmm.
It was in a heat race, and we're running. He was leading the heat race, and I was second. We passed the start finish line for the white flag. As we went through one and two, his motor, I don't remember today exactly what happened, but the motor stuttered as we came off the corner, and I got into his back bumper and spun him out. I went on to win the race, and they didn't. Today if you did that, you wouldn't win the race, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened back then, that I won the race.
Mm-hmm.
So after the race, he came over and talked to me, and it wasn't like we were arguing or screaming or yelling at each other. We talked about what happened and went on from there. A couple of weeks later, I think it was in the same year, we're up at Slinger, and I won the feature. And back then, you stopped on the start finish line and picked up the checkered flag and made your lap around there pretty much like you do today. And when I stopped to get the flag, I noticed in the mirror on the door, that something was coming up behind me. And back then, you didn't sit down in a car like you do today. Your head was up where you could see what's going on, and if you wanted to stick your head out the window, you could easily do it. But what happened was Alan got hit in the left rear wheel somewhere along the line in that race, and he had his head out the window looking at the left rear tire, and he ran right into the back of me while I was sitting on the start finish line waiting to get the checkered flag. And I can still tell you how embarrassed he looked after I got out of the car and I walked back, and I was like, what was that all about? And he says, you aren't going to believe this. So I did believe it, and to this day, I certainly don't think he did it purposely.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say I really never had a run in with him.
Yeah. Was he typically a clean racer or more on the aggressive side?
I think he was a very clean racer. I don't remember anything that thinking about this over the past week or so, I don't remember anything that he ever purposely took anybody out. I know he was very tenacious. One night he hit the turn one wall at Slinger, flipped the car on the roof. The car was junk. It was absolute junk. The front stub was bent. The body was all smashed up. It was kind of like, well, we won't see him for a week or two. Next Sunday night, he was right back out there and won the feature.
Really?
He didn't give up. There's no doubt about that.
What kind of relationship did you have with him?
I think in the beginning, when I first got to know him, if you knew who Alan was going to be, you probably would have treated him differently. But he was just another race car driver, racing at Lake Geneva, Jefferson, Madison, Slinger. And he was a little bit hard to talk to. In fact, he was very hard to talk to. But I got to know him, and at that time, he was going out with Marilyn Mee, and I knew Marilyn Mee through Donnie Mee, who is Marilyn's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Donnie and I had a race car together for a short period of time. So it was kind of a little bit of a connection there that I did get to start talking to him. And he had his car, I think it was the first Rander car that he had. He had it at the Expo in Milwaukee. They had a car show in February. And I went in there and just walking around looking at things, and he was there, and I got talking to him, and we probably talked for an hour and a half. And after that, it seemed like he had a different impression of me, or a different way to look at me, because we were pretty good friends there for quite some time until he moved away. And then even after that, when he would come back up to Slinger and do some of the the nationals or whatever the bigger races were that he was involved with, he would come over by me and we'd stand by the fence and talk about, different ideas and chassis. And you could see that he had gone a long way since he raced at Slinger and went down south and started doing what he was doing.
If Alan were here today, what do you think his role in the racing world would be?
Well, I can't say that he would be a team owner because he was a team owner back in the day when he raced down there by himself. But I think he would be heavily involved in racing. I think he would probably be at least a 1 or 2 car team owner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he would probably be right on top. I mean, he would be right up there with Gibbs and the rest of the guys, the top teams that are racing today. I'm sure he'd be heavily involved in racing.
Do you think he was better on the inside or the outside?
I don't think there was any difference. He's the kind of a driver that, like any good driver up there racing a Slinger, you do what you have to do to pass. So, try to be as gentle as he can be to get by somebody, but it didn't matter. He'd find a way to pass somebody. If he was faster than him, he'd get by him.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the day Alan died in the plane crash? And what were your thoughts after hearing about it?
I absolutely remember it. I heard it on the 10 o'clock news. We were living in McWanago at the time, and it was terrible. I hadn't been associating with him for quite a few years there, but everybody that knew him and raced with him and worked with him, worked with our pit guys, and everybody felt really bad about it. It was terrible.
What do you miss most about Alan?
I think his quirky personality. And in the beginning, it wasn't quirky, it was rude. But once you got to know him and let his expressions go by you, he was a really good guy.
What is your greatest memory of Alan?
I'd have to say him winning at that time. It was the Winston Cup Championship. It was unbelievable. I watched it on TV and I just sat there amazed that the way he worked through that and ended up getting a few points over Bill Elliott. If I remember right, I think it might have been like 20 points or something in the end. But yeah, maybe it wasn't that many. But at any rate, the way he did that, he was not only driving the car, he was figuring out how to win the race. And that is unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you guys know your age gap between each other?
Well, I'm thinking he was 68 and I'm 73.
Okay. So not too far.
No.
Huh.
I think I started racing maybe a couple of years before he did. At least he may have been racing on the dirt at Hales Corners or Cedarburg or some place like that I wasn't aware of. But when he started coming on the asphalt, I was racing at least 3 or 4 years before he was.
Okay. So you raced at Slinger before him then?
I think I did, yes.
Okay.
I'm almost sure I did. I raced on Slinger when it was dirt.
Oh, really?
The first time I ever went up there, it was a dirt track.
Huh.
It's like, and don't quote me on this, but it was like 1966.
Wow. Huh.
I graduated high school in 66 and I raced up there in 66. In some place, I still have the rollover trophy from my first race.
Did you like the dirt back then?
Absolutely not. I hated it.
Really?
No. I won a race at Cedarburg. We had to race. I don't know if you're aware of this, but back then, in order to get enough cars to fill a field at Slinger, Wayne Erickson would let the dirt guys race with us, but we had to race either at Cedarburg or Hales Corners the week before Slinger.
Really?
So we would go up to Cedarburg. I think it was either Wednesday night or Thursday night, and we had to race on the dirt, and we had to have proof that we raced there. Then we were eligible to run Slinger on Sunday nights.
Huh.
And I actually won a heat race at Cedarburg, but I think the only reason I won it because everybody else wrecked. As I remember, I was terrible on the dirt. I tried corners. a buddy of mine that worked at Bailings had a pretty fast dirt car, and he asked me one night, "Well, why don't you drive it? Just see how it is." So about the third lap, I was over the cushion and in the wall, and I decided that's enough of that.
Well, that's all I got here. I mean, it's cool to listen to, those greatest memories of each other are cool to listen to. And I just like hearing about, old stories like that. It's cool to hear them and how he did it. It's cool that he was such a good race car driver, but did all the suspension wise and geometry behind and under the wheel and stuff like that. So it's cool to hear all those stories about him and how we eventually went into NASCAR about it. So
He just up and loaded up his trailer and everything he owned and said, "I'm going down south. I'm going racing," and that's what he did. People back here were, smiling and snickering out of the corner of their mouths, and well, I guess he showed them.
yeah, because when he went down south, he wasn't like dominating, right?
No, I think he got fast time at maybe Martinsville or Richmond, someplace like that, in the first year that he was down there. But I think that's the only thing that he really did. I do remember when he won the first race at Phoenix, but I can't tell you if it was the first year, second year, third year. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he did the reverse carrying the flag,
Mm-hmm.
at
Oh,
Polish victory lap.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool. That really is. But yeah, I mean, I really like the question where I wonder where he would be, now in the racing world. I would think he'd be a car owner, but you just never know.
Yeah, I don't think he would be. No, he wouldn't be driving anymore. I'm sure of that. But he would definitely be involved in it.
I appreciate it, Conrad. I mean, I love hearing these stories and for you to take your time of the day and late at night here. I appreciate you for hopping on this call and I hope you have a really good off season and I'm sure I'll see you and say hi